5 True Horror Stories. School Edition Story. 1. The Locker That Kept Knocking. I went to a public high school in Ohio, and there was a row of old metal lockers near the science wing that nobody used anymore. They were dented, rusted, and permanently sealed shut. One December afternoon, I was waiting for my ride after school when I heard knocking coming from that row. 3 slow knocks, then silence. I thought it was someone playing a prank, but the hallway was completely empty. When I walked closer, I heard whispering, like someone breathing words through metal. I called out, "Who's there?" The knocking instantly stopped. The next morning, I told Mr. Henson, our janitor, about it. He sighed and said, "Kid, those lockers were welded shut after a student disappeared in 1994. They never found him. That night, I stayed late for a project. When I passed the same hallway, every locker started knocking one by one, and then a cold voice whispered through the cracks, 'Let me out.'" Story 2. The Substitute Teacher Who Wasn't on Record. This happened at my cousin's school in Manchester, UK. One Monday morning, they had a substitute teacher for their history class, an older woman with pale skin, gray hair tied in a bun, and thick glasses. She spoke very softly and had a strange habit of staring at every student for a few seconds longer than she should. Halfway through the lesson, she said, "Some of you won't be here much longer." The students laughed, thinking it was a joke. But she walked up to each desk and whispered something different in every student's ear. Most students said they couldn't understand her, but it sounded like a date, whispered in a dead monotone voice. When the regular teacher returned the next day, students told her about the substitute. She got confused and said, "We didn't have a substitute yesterday. School was closed for staff training. The CCTV footage was checked. The classroom was empty the entire day. But the students still swear they spent 50 minutes with that woman." And 2 of the students said the date whispered to them came true. A week later, both of them had near-fatal accidents. Story 3. The Girl in the Computer Lab. My school in Texas had a computer lab that always felt colder than the rest of the building. Everyone joked that it was haunted because the school was built over an old house that burned down decades ago. One evening, I stayed late to finish an assignment. I was the last student there, and the teacher had stepped out for a moment. When I looked at the reflection of my monitor, I saw a girl standing behind me. Long black hair, white dress, barefoot. I turned around, no one. But when I looked back at my monitor, she was even closer in the reflection. I froze, my breath turned white in there. Then one of the computers behind me turned on by itself, and someone typed rapidly on the keyboard. I forced myself to turn around, no one. On the glowing screen behind me, a message slowly typed itself. "I died here, I ran out." The next day, the teacher casually mentioned that years ago, a girl had died in the old house fire, exactly where the computer lab now stood. Story 4. The Basement Classroom. In my old London school, there was a basement classroom that was used for detention. No windows, flickering lights, always freezing. I had detention once for being late. I was alone for the first 10 minutes until I heard someone walking around behind me. When I looked, the room was empty. The lights flickered again, and all the desks had shifted slightly, like someone had dragged them. I called the teacher, but while I was waiting, I noticed a handprint on the far wall, fresh, small, and bloody. When the teacher arrived, the handprint was gone. I thought I was losing my mind. Until 2 weeks later, the school announced renovation updates and revealed something in an assembly. The basement had originally been a bomb shelter during World War II. Dozens of children died down there during an air raid. And ever since then, students kept reporting children running around during detention. 5 True Horror Stories. School Edition Story 1. The Locker That Kept Knocking. Story 2. The Substitute Teacher Who Wasn't on Record. Story 3. The Girl in the Computer Lab. Story 4. The Basement Classroom Story 5. The Classroom Door That Scratched Back. In senior year, my friend Jacob and I stayed after school to work on a group project. Our classroom was in a newer building. Nothing old, nothing haunted. At least that's what we thought. Around 7 p.m. we heard scratching on the classroom door. Slow, long scratches like nails dragging wood. We thought it was the janitor messing with us, so Jacob joked, "Yo, come in." The scratching stopped. Then, the handle started turning, slowly, but the door was locked from the inside. Suddenly something hit the door hard, once, twice, 3 times. We grabbed our stuff and ran out the back exit of the classroom. The next morning, the teacher complained to the principal because someone deeply scratched the door overnight. The marks were at least 5 feet long and carved deep into the wood. But here's the part that messed me up. The CCTV outside our classroom showed no one. Not a janitor, not a student. No shadows, no movement. Nothing touched the door at all. Yet the scratches were still there. If you watched this video till the end but still haven't liked or subscribed, be careful. The next incident might happen to you. So like the video, subscribe now, and comment OK to stay safe.